What if I told you the most dangerous threat to Max Verstappen isn't Mercedes, Ferrari, or even McLaren, it's his own team? Behind the speed, the trophies, and the dominance, Red Bull is quietly unraveling. A new CEO has stepped in. And in just a few silent moves, he may have just dismantled the very foundation that made Verstappen unbeatable. Power is shifting. Politics are taking over. And the dynasty of Red Bull racing might be crumbling from within. This isn't just about racing, it's about control. And Verstappen is caught in the crossfire. The greatest threat to Max Verstappen's dominance isn't Lewis Hamilton, Ferrari, or even Mercedes, but something far more insidious and unexpected: the corporate boardroom at Red Bull. As shocking as it sounds, Verstappen's future at Red Bull Racing may now depend less on lap times and more on internal politics, brand strategy, and a new power hierarchy because the team has a new CEO, and his decisions might be the most consequential in modern Formula 1. As fans continue to focus on race strategies and headline rivalries, Red Bull has quietly been undergoing a seismic shift in leadership culture. With Dietrich Mateschitz passing, control has moved slowly but decisively into the hands of Oliver Mintzlaff, a business strategist who views the team as a global brand asset, not just a racing powerhouse. And his FR's major move? To implement what insiders are calling Project Alignment, a comprehensive overhaul of team governance, hierarchy, and performance oversight that directly affects Verstappen's autonomy. For years, Christian Horner, Helmut Marko, and Adrian Newey operated with near-total control. They invested in audacious strategies, let Verstappen race aggressively, and even tolerated public spats if it meant serving the team's ultimate goal: raw, unrelenting dominance. But under Mintzlaff, that unfiltered power no longer FTS the brand narrative that Red Bull wants to cultivate, a narrative of polished global reach, brand consistency, and measured returns on investment. So he quietly created an executive racing panel, staffed not by engineers or XF1 champions, but by brand executives, corporate analysts, market strategists, and fans experts. Their mandate: review decisions historically made trackside, including fuel strategies, setup aggressiveness, media appearances, and even which races Verstappen is encouraged to target for maximum global exposure. That means Verstappen's legendary freestyle dominance may now have to pass a corporate floater, risk being softened in the name of consistency, margins, and branding reliability. To some, this looks like sabotage, especially to Verstappen's inner circle, including his father Jos, who has privately expressed serious concerns about the erosion of the racing first mentality that once deafened Red Bull. Jos has been spotted meeting with Mercedes and Aston Martin reps, sparking speculation about a possible exit clause trigger if Verstappen's agency continues to shrink. But it's not just about driver freedom. Mintzlaff has also reportedly seen Horner as a liability, or at least an outdated relic of a franchise built by rebels. Rumor has it that Mintzlaff is preparing an organizational split, separating technical engineering from team management, reducing Horner's influence and redistributing power to newly hired corporate performance directors. Red Bull insiders say even Adrian Newey's technical decisions may now require eventual sign-off from the same executive panel, transforming one of F1's greatest technical autonomy stories into a boardroom procedure. Envision this: race strategy, calls being reviewed before being approved not by Marko or Horner, but a group whose main expertise is brand equity, sponsor alignment, and global messaging coherence. This move, if executed fully, would be unprecedented. Formula One has never seen a constructor's internal race philosophy dictated by corporate governance documents. Verstappen, a champion built in chaos, is now being forced into order. And the question is whether maximum performance can survive compliance. Still, this internal restructuring is happening quietly, behind closed doors. Red Bull's public messaging claims Project Evolution is necessary to expand the brand and protect its legacy. They insist Verstappen remains central and Horner continues as team principal with full support. But the facts tell a different story. Behind the scenes, morale within the factory has begun to shift. Trackside engineers say protocols feel stiffer. Emotions feel suppressed. One senior aerodynamicist reportedly whispered, "It's like leadership bled out and spreadsheets took over." Even longtime team members have described the mood as clinical rather than chaotic, a far cry from the high-risk energy Red Bull was built on. Meanwhile, the paddock is buzzing with whispers. If Verstappen's dissatisfaction grows, his multi-year contract may have an early exit clause triggered by managerial restructuring or interference. And this has ignited a bidding war rumor mill. Mercedes wants him. Aston Martin, newly armed with Honda power units, is building a team around driver agency freedom. Even Audi, entering in 2026, is positioning itself as the believer in engineering first. Culture freedom over brand mandates. Simply put, Verstappen's departure would cause a seismic shift. Red Bull without Verstappen becomes beatable. Mercedes with Verstappen becomes a juggernaut. Ferrari and others suddenly have room to breathe. This shift could spark a domino effect across the grid, redefining 2026 and beyond. And it's happening while the internal tension rises. Jos Verstappen, who has always acted as a de facto advisor, was recently fled speaking with top mechanics, and engineers secretly promising they'd visit other teams if the environment doesn't change. That may have been hyperbole, but the intention is clear. When the driver's family gets involved, the risk escalates exponentially. And what will the sporting regulators do? At present, FIA takes no position on management politics. But if tension leads to leaked contracts, public defense, or mid-season departures, Red Bull may face scrutiny over governance standards. And that level of scrutiny could destabilize a team historically protected by dominance and success. All of this comes down to one central conflict: Verstappen's instinct for unrestrained aggression versus Red Bull's evolving need for continued brand alignment. One side wants chaos and unpredictability. The other demands consistency, safety, and controllability. The grid, fans, and investors are now investing emotionally in a corporate showdown as much as a sporting one. So what happens next? Does Verstappen adjust, tame his feral edge, and align behind Mintzlaff's vision? Or does he walk, probably taking most of Red Bull's social equity with him? Could a Mercedes-Verstappen era begin? And what would that do to F1's power balance? Even worse for Red Bull if internal restructuring fails to create better consistency, and instead curbs performance. Teams like McLaren, Ferrari, and Audi may surge past them. What we're witnessing today isn't just another contract saga, it's the moment Formula One becomes unrecognizable. The sport is being taken over by business strategy rather than raw speed, and a single CEO has fundamentally changed the rules of engagement. Red Bull's new philosophy may prioritize global brand synergy over race wins, and Verstappen, once the untouchable driver, force now FNDS, himself navigating boardroom briefs alongside engineering specs. Whatever happens next, Formula One fans should know this. The most dramatic throttle reversal this decade isn't happening on track. It's happening in the off-seas above it. And if Red Bull fails to balance brand alignment with raw performance, it may lose the one driver that made its F1 empire possible. If you think Verstappen will survive this storm, hit that like button. But if you believe this is the beginning of Red Bull's downfall, drop a comment with your take. Who will Max race for next? Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the untold stories of Formula One, where the real drama happens far from the track. Because here, we don't just watch the race, we expose what's really driving it.